Good morning. I wanted to share with you a quick video on some of my observations for Lab 5E, specifically the graph, and then how that will affect the conclusions. This is corrections that I recognize that I would often give in class because of a missed instruction. And so I want to give them now via video, show you what I mean exactly, and then give you a chance to update any of your work. This should be a quick fix, especially for the graph assignment, and then it can affect your conclusions really profoundly, but also make the conclusions quite easy if you see the relationship we're shooting for. So I'm going to pop over to my browser and show you exactly what I mean by this. Okay, so here we are in the quiz. This is 5E Ohm's Law graph. This was due last Sunday. A lot of you have turned it in, but I started going through and seeing the same issues that now looking back, I kind of expect. So that's why we're here. So question 1 says, plot your results in graph. So this is going back to the data you collected in Lab 5E in graph with voltage as the dependent variable and current as the independent variable. So I've got over in this window some data like that, and I set up the table all nicely with my constant up top listing my resistance, my voltage that I was changing here in the first column, and my current, then that was the responding variable there. And if I highlight these and insert a graph, a chart, I quickly put that up, and then I can go down to scatter plot. Notice that since I highlighted my my labels up here, I put them right in the graph, no problem. But the first question said the voltage should be the dependent variable here. That's not really how we set up our assignment or our experiment, but it is important for this graph so that you see the relationship. Remember, the dependent variable always goes on the y-axis. The independent variable always goes on the x-axis. These are backwards. So I can fix that really quickly by, I'm going to erase my chart here. And I want to remember that when we graph in this way, when we just highlight here, the first column is always the x. The second column is always the y. So I'm going to highlight my voltage and just move it over here. And now when I highlight it, the first column, the current, will be my x, which is the independent. That's what the instructions asked. The second column will be my y, which is the dependent voltage. And now I can insert my chart and make those adjustments again. So change it from a line chart down to scatter plot. Then if I click on one of those data points in there, it allows me to change stuff about it. So I'm going to add a trend line and go down to where it says label and say use equation. Okay, and now it puts this equation here. This is now a complete graph that is also plotted in the way that the instructions ask. So I'm going to copy it and plop it over here. Don't worry if it's a bit big. You can adjust the size somewhat. I can adjust it up and down with that. When you submit it, the window adjusts, and so I can see it better. I'm going to scroll up so we can see this part, the formula part for the next question. Now, down here, it says record the formula for your best fit line, which I've got right up here in the blank using the symbols appropriate for your data. So we know that every line has a form of y equals mx plus b, m times x plus b. In our formula up here, it doesn't say y equals, but that's what it means. Y equals 27 times x plus 1.18, and what that means is times e means here times 10 to the power of negative 14. It means that this is an extremely small number, very close to 0. Now, that's fine in math, but it doesn't really have any meaning. And so what this question is asking you to do as a final step here, as really the answer, is to change that so that it does have meaning. So instead of variables of y and x, which are just generic things, we want to use what is the meaning in our plot. So instead of y, we want to look to the y-axis and say, well, voltage is my y variable. What's a symbol for voltage? Capital V is. It's, as it says in the instructions here, numbers we can just keep. But now we're on to x. So let's go down to our x-axis. We see that current is what I am measuring down here. That's my x variable. So I want to put in a symbol for current. Current, remember, is symbolized with the letter I. Not A, which is the symbol, the abbreviation for the unit, but I. It comes from French. It's intensity of current in French, and so that's why we use the I. And then I can put the last number in again. This is what I'm looking for in this last, the last question here, because now it says a reader could see, oh, V and I must be dealing with voltage and current. If they have some knowledge about that, it's more meaningful than saying Y and X, which could be anything. Okay. I am opening up second attempts, so if you want to go in and make any corrections to either your Lab 5e graph or based on your findings here, now looking at the formula especially should help you with your conclusions. Hint, hint. So take a look at that and see if your conclusions need any updates. That's open for a second attempt as well, so that you can get all of the points on here and hopefully with very quick, rapid fixes. I won't be grading these until next week. So I'll kind of grade these last two parts of Lab 5e with the first parts of Lab 5f all through the next week. Okay, I hope this has helped. And please remember, you can contact me by email throughout the school day and I get back pretty quickly. If it's outside of the school day, it might wait until the next morning. And you can also, if we need to, we can't figure out stuff with discussion over email, we could set up a Zoom conference that would, 5 minutes and talk through some of these issues. So I'm pretty flexible with that as well. Okay, have a good day.